I'm Megan. I'm the Outreach and Development Director for Gulf Coast Kids House, and I'm here with CiCi Sekhon, who is our Regional Medical Director for the Gulf Coast Kids House. We want to kind of bring you an update on what's going on with our current operations and how the COVID-19 pandemic is affecting child abuse cases here in our community. So, CiCi, a lot of experts nationwide have been talking about how this pandemic is going to increase the rate of child abuse cases that we're seeing, and is that the case that's happening in our community, and what's the current status?
So locally, we have seen an overall drop in the cases referred, most likely due to the fact that children are less visible in the community. Teachers typically and other educators tend to be our primary referral source for abused children, and obviously with children out, that's changed and dropped off quite a bit. But we have seen cases that are related to this pandemic in the sense that we've seen more acute sexual assault cases. We've seen more cases that are related to children being abused in domestic violence situations. And we've seen some, or I would say probably more egregious abuse, meaning more severe types of physical abuse.
Okay. So what kind of recommendations do you have? I know a lot of, school is happening virtually and teachers are still hopefully having contact with kiddos and things like that. But what can we do as community members or teachers or people who are still having contact with kids? What kind of things can we do to check in on those kids and still be kind of those eyes and ears within those households?
So most definitely, I think it's important for teachers to remember that they still are the eyes and ears for children in our community, and to check in when they have those virtual meetings with their teachers, have those questions asked on the children who you have concerns for, and even the children who you don't have concerns for, having it be a standard practice to ask questions related to child safety. We have had cases referred by educators who are using the virtual platforms with their students, and for one reason or another had concerns for a child, asked the child, and the child disclosed something that warranted further investigation. So simple questions like, do you feel safe? And asking those questions across the board so that there isn't a judgment call being made by the teacher can kind of open up that forum, and providing kids the understanding and instructions for how to, in a one-on-one private setting, reach out to a teacher if they are feeling unsafe for any reason.
Okay. And you mentioned that you've seen kind of an increase in the sexual abuse and things like that, and what kind of things, what ways can we as parents or, as caretakers of kids, what kind of things can we do to help avoid those situations, or, why do we see that increase?
So my personal experience since we have gone to the stay-home order in our state has been that we've had a rise in acute sexual assault, meaning sex abuse where the child discloses in the less than 72-hour range. To kind of back up and explain what that means, we have had many cases of sex abuse where the child doesn't feel comfortable enough to talk about that until much later, and because of that, we aren't able to collect evidence. In this case, we've seen more, and my personal experience has been that there have been unusual child care arrangements for parents who are continuing to work, and because of that, predators are gaining access to children where they normally would not have had that access because the children would have been in daycares or in school settings. So that's one of the reasons. And then the other is teens are on social media platforms more now, and strangers can be anybody on a social media platform and seem like your best friend, and then things can shift gears and they can make demands to go out and meet that person, and make threats that if you don't do that, that something bad would happen to you or your family, which has in our community been one of the kind of the impetus for assault is children will leave their homes, meet these strangers, and then the strangers obviously have access to the child and have sexually assaulted children. So the that was my long-winded way of saying the instructions to the parents and the children are to remember that predators use social media platforms to their advantage, and having that knowledge is, first of all, knowing what to be concerned for is one of the first steps in prevention. But then in addition to that, if a child finds themselves in a situation where they feel like things are getting uncomfortable, or if a stranger is saying that they want or have to meet up with that child for one reason or another, know that when threats are accompanied by those demands for meeting up, it's a ploy. It's not that they have any more access than they did before, and children can notify authorities and their families, and safety measures can be put in place to keep them safe. But going to meet the predator because they think that will protect their family should never happen, because they use that to make the child leave the home and to gain access to them. And it should never be done. Just like if a person says, "Come get in my car," you never get in your car. It will not save your life. And same for if a predator says, "Meet me," or something bad will happen. It never works out that way. Something bad always happens if you meet up with them.
Okay. So for those of you watching, the ways to report child abuse, again, is 1-800-96-ABUSE. You can also go online and fill out a form as well. They do take fax reports as well. So just be vigilant, be aware of what your surroundings and things like that. Check in on the kiddos that are normally in your lives, and stay alert. We also have the Safe Kid Zone training available at GulfCoastKidsHouse.org. It's a 30-minute online web training if you want to learn more about how to recognize signs of abuse and how to report those things. We appreciate you taking the time, and we hope to see you all soon.